Hi, I am so sorry for the delay. I am clearly, I teach a noon flow, and I had a student who had lots and lots of questions. So I do apologize for hopping on here just a few moments late, but happy to be with you guys here for our last day of our Yoga Anatomy Teacher Training Prerequisite course. My intentions for you today is to teach you intentions. Intentions is a really great way to sequence a class, to program a class, whatever word resonates with you. This translates really awesome from the personal training world to the bar world to anything, as well as to life, right? So if you approach your problems, approach different things in yoga, we approach the asana with certain intentions. We can build total sequences from that. We can build class themes from that. We can build the body up from that in a physical level as well. So let's get started. And again, if you guys have questions, anything that comes up, feel free to leave them. If there's any questions about my online course, the group coaching, the one-on-one coaching, or anything we have covered up into this point, please leave a comment. I'll use the end of this session as a little bit of Q&A for you guys so we can just make sure everybody's clear, and yeah, just make sure you guys have a really good understanding of some cool anatomy concepts. Again, this was just kind of the basics during this first 5 day. If you are looking for a little bit more stuff, please feel free to reach out to me. I understand if the course isn't for you, I have many other ways to learn with me. So just let me know and we'll make sure to dive in. And so for all of you guys tuning in, I am referring back to my intention post that I had posted a few weeks ago, and I'm going to keep it in front of me just so I can make sure I am speaking to exactly what I need to be speaking to. But without further ado, let's dive in. So the first posture that we talk about is going to be chair pose. So chair pose, and my different intentions is a muscular activation intention, is a tension intention, compression intention, and a comparison intention. So for the muscle activation intention, the intention is literally just a muscle group. So start to feel, for example, chair pose, start to feel the front of your thighs. This would be your quads. For chair pose, start to feel your back body. What that looks like is just maybe leaning your arms back a little bit more. So by cueing muscular intentions, you're not asking the postures to look a certain way. I will say that again. The poses should never have to look a certain way. What needs to, the whole basis of everything is really to make sure that you are fitting different bodies around the asana versus trying to fit the asana into every certain body type. This is where the intentions really stem from. And with that being said, if you haven't noticed, from Monday until now, everybody is built differently. Every body is built differently. Certain emotional traumas, where they live in your body, is going to affect how you move. Different injuries that you had as a child, ones that you might not even remember, are going to affect how you move, how you were raised, what you did as a kid, what you did as a high school kid, what you did in college, all the foods that you ate, everything, and the foods that you ate that certain day are going to affect how you move. How much sleep you got is going to affect how you move, so on and so forth. Everything, the stress that you're feeling, women, your cycle is going to affect how you move. There's actually evidence out there now that says that your fascia and everything becomes more lax during ovulation right up to your lunar cycle. So everything affects how you move day to day. I know I mentioned earlier, if you work out in the morning versus in the afternoon versus at night, you will have a total different physical as well as emotional and mental experience. So with that being said, back to our intentions. Muscular activation. It's really awesome to offer these types of intentions, because then You watch as the poses change. With the different body types in front of you, for chair pose, for example, if you want someone to feel their quads more, you might see someone sit a little bit deeper in their chair. You might see somebody pick up their toes so they kind of rock their weight back. You might see someone actually shift more into their toes so they can dial into their quads a little bit more. Again, everyone is built just a little bit different. Other intentions for muscular activation: hamstrings, back body, glutes, and core. Core is always an easy go-to muscular activation. When I use muscular activations, typically I will use muscular activations in more of these active poses, such as chair pose, such as crescent lunge, such as your balancing postures, because it's awesome and it's active and you're using your muscles to help support you. With that being said, crescent lunge, sticking with our muscular activations, quads, hamstrings, back body. It is the same thing. It's simple. And honestly, you don't need to know the names of all the quad muscles. Feel the front of your thigh start to fire up. That is the same thing as saying your quads, but we are just calling it the front of your thigh. We're calling it where it is. Shoulders for crescent lunge, shoulders for chair pose, core, the front of your shin, right? It can be super specific or it can be bigger, broader. Feel your whole back body engage. Crescent lunge, lifting your back knee up to the sky, feel your hamstring engage. All of these awesome things just to help the practitioner, your students in front of you, dial into their bodies a little bit more. I am getting pumped for this. I'm gonna have to calm down just a little. Whew, cool. Okay, so airplane pose, front of the big toe, right? So start to feel the hamstrings, the glutes, the lats, right? Airplane with the arms extended versus arms to your side will be very, very different. Hip internal rotation. Think about the back leg on an airplane. Airplane is standing on one leg with your other leg kicked behind you, your upper body, and your back leg is kind of in a capital letter T. So adding pinky toe faces the floor or hip internal rotation, all really great cues to help them turn everything on, start to feel the muscle engagement, start to squeeze in through your inner thighs. All muscle activation intentions. When I say tension, tension is going to be more of a general area stretch. So anytime you feel tension, it is more like feeling a stretch. So for example, if I were to lift my arm up overhead and I say I feel tension here or I feel a stretch here, what I feel most here is all of this. This is a tension. You are feeling more of a stretch. In the course, I go through tension and compression as it relates to the bone level. So with that being said, everybody's bones are shaped a little bit differently. And because they are shaped a little bit differently, they will be able to get in and out of postures a little bit different. They will look differently. The best example I have of this is going to be if you lay somebody on their back and with your knees together, hug your knees into your chest. A lot of the times you will feel somebody with a pinching sensation on the front of their hips, right by their hip flexor. So I would consider this a compression restriction. So again, you're lying on your back with your knees together, you hug your knees into your chest. If you can with one finger point to where you feel a pinching pain, it might feel like a sharp pain, it might feel just like bone on bone. But that is what I consider compression, because everyone's hip socket is shaped different. Everyone's hip socket where it lives on the pelvis is different. Everyone's femur is different, and all the little bumps on their femur is going to be a little bit bigger or smaller. If you're looking for more of this, this is my favorite stuff. This is my jam. We dive straight into it in the course, and it is so good. I'm not just saying that. It is totally, having learned this, totally helped me change the way I see the body, change the way I cue my students, as well as change the way that I have now offered different intentions. Hence why I've even created this graph. And this graph is just a piece of it. In the course, you can see tons of different postures laid out, all the intentions directly for you. Copy it, steal it, keep it, use it, sequence from it. It is for you, it is yours. And it is probably one of the best pieces of information that I give away. And it's my favorite. It has totally helped me just help my students dive a little bit deeper into their bodies, as well as help me when I go into teacher trainings and I'm teaching different teachers in training how to see the students differently. It has totally helped the way I teach, as well as how I help other people see the body. And it's something that I feel I've gotten pretty good at. So it's definitely worth your while. So when we talk about tension, the difference of compression, whereas you're laying on your back with your knees into your chest, feeling that one pinching pain on the front of their hip, that is compression. Compression is bone on bone. Tension is more if my knees are hugged into my chest and I feel it along my hamstrings and my glutes. Now I feel more of a stretch sensation. I can't pinpoint it with one finger. I use more of a swooping kind of motion. Oh man, I feel that here. Tricep stretch, for example, I feel that here. That is going to change the way, that is going to be tension and will absolutely be different on different bodies. So it'll change the way you can cue things, but without having to be so specific. So back to our chair pose. Some of the tension intentions is to feel your low back, to feel your shoulders, to feel your lats, to feel your core. So we're cueing more of the general areas and something more where they can start to dive into these big groups of muscles. Crescent lunge, the hip flexors, specifically on the back leg. The front glutes, right? Because you're in that split stance position. Start to feel the front glutes wanting to open all along the back body. The core, as well as the shoulders with the arms up overhead, start to feel some sort of a shoulder stretch or tension in your shoulders. The word tension usually has a little bit different connotation, so also keep that in mind. Tension and stretch work really well together. As far as airplane goes, airplane pose, feel your back body. Start to feel the standing leg, hamstrings, and glutes start to dial up. Maybe you feel it towards the inner thigh. Maybe the leg that's in the air as you start to dial into some of that hip internal rotation, pinky finger face the floor, that's your cue there. You might feel the hip flexors or the inner thighs. You might start to feel some of your gluteus medius, the glutes wanting to open up. So just things to keep in mind. As far as compression. So again, compression is our bone on bone. Back to our chair pose. You might feel it in your hips. You might feel it in your low back. You might feel it in your knees or in your ankles. So we are looking for more of a bone on bone. And this isn't always a bad thing. This still will help us change the fascia. But just bringing it to their awareness will help them. Again, we're helping them dive into their bodies. We're helping them see their body, how strong it is. But also maybe some areas of tightness. We're helping them tune in to what's going on so they can better now release stuck emotions, release past traumas, release past injuries, let some of this go, and then be able to strengthen around them so they start to work around their normal compensation patterns. Crescent lunge, some of our compression intentions could be the low back again, could be the hip flexors on the front leg. So in your crescent lunge in the split stance with the right foot forward, you may feel a pinching sensation. And again, you can just offer these up to the group. Some people it won't resonate with, but you will see everyone micro moving to kind of feel that. They are exploring the workings of their body. They are starting to learn how their body is put together, what feels good when they do certain things, and what doesn't feel good when they do certain things. And that is the point. That is how you get people to, number one, trust their bodies. Know that they're strong. Know that they can do certain things even on the mat, but as well, and maybe even more importantly, hopefully more importantly, off the mat. Awesome. So back to our airplane, the standing leg front hip, you might get a pinching sensation there. And it's fun to cue that one because you will see people in their airplane with their leg on the ground, their back legs in the air, they start to hinge way forward. Now we're playing with some balance. Now we're playing with starting to turn some cool things on. You may feel in the neck, right? So if somebody's totally cranked up and looking way up, They may feel that. So noticing any compression, my intention for you is to feel a little compression in your neck, and then pull yourself out of the compression, find a double chin, find that area that you just found compression on, now find length. People hold so much tension in their neck, in their upper traps. So actually cueing them into that compression so that they can then feel it, recognize it, and then be able to then bring your neck back to neutral, tuck your chin in just a touch, and feel length along the space you were just feeling compression. And now notice, if you're having to cue a bunch of other things, and if your mind is just talking, you're gonna miss some of these really cool opportunities to have your students dive into their bodies. So as you become a better yoga teacher, you can lose some of the fluffy stuff. And as you teach your students that are continuously coming to your classes, the expectations, hence why maybe you shouldn't be building a new flow every single time you come to a class, right? So if you teach Monday, Wednesday, Friday, maybe you teach that same flow. Maybe every Tuesday you teach the same flow for a month. So now with this thought pattern, you're able to teach your students what to expect, so you can start to get into some more of this fun stuff. So you can start to really help your students dive into the workings of what's going on, because they kind of know what the flow is going to be. It's the same with Hot 26. It's the same with Baptiste. It's the same with Ashtanga. You kind of know what to expect, so that maybe you can then start to dial in, well, how does this feel on my body today? If I usually go to a 6 a.m., but now I'm at a 6 p.m. class, how does this feel now? It's the same flow. I'm expecting the same thing. But then again, I'm not a big person. I don't love doing the same flow every time, but for a month, you're not pissing me off. And then the next month we try it again. We start something new. Maybe there's a totally different intention. But when the students kind of have a guess as to what's going on, or maybe the whole class is themed around an intention, but that way they have an opportunity to work on something, to see their progress. So a little bit of these, just kind of how to structure a class, little tidbits. Take what works for you. Some students don't like to do the same flow ever. So that might also say something about their real life, right? What happens when they get stuck in traffic? Are they getting pissed off? What happens the next day? Are they getting pissed off again? So again, just noticing the things come from your mat, they translate awesome into real life. Cool, so that was as far as compression. The next one we're gonna talk about is comparison. So when I say comparison, I don't mean Gabby to Jill. I don't mean Gabby to Scott. What I mean is left versus right, front versus back. It always stays within your being. So chair pose, is there equal weight left versus right? If you're twisting your chair, do you feel your hips in line? I am not saying in chair pose you need to feel the left and the right. I'm not also saying that your knees can't be a little out of line with each other. Whenever you come to a twisted chair, for example, chair pose twist off to the right, you'll probably see the right hip wanting to come a little bit forward. You might see the right hip wanting to come a little bit back. Again, everyone's built differently. But the cue that I hear all the time is to square your hips. Make sure your knees are in line, so you're keeping your hips in line. Your hips are not going to be in line because you're making a twist. So does it feel better? And again, this is noticing compression. Does it feel better in your sacrum, in your low back, to keep your knees out of a line? Or does it feel better in your hips to pull your knees back in line? Again, we're offering suggestions so your students can start to dive into the workings of their body. That is the point. As well as equal arm activation in chair pose with the arms up extended overhead. Do you feel the arms equal? Do you feel that one shoulder blade is getting pulled down a little bit more? Do you feel like you're adding in a little bit of a twist because the upper body, if one side's a little stronger, you might notice a little bit of a rotation there. There's no right and there's no wrong. These are just my suggestions. But then for our crescent lunge, do you feel balanced? A lot of times with crescent lunge, you'll see either the hips are going to be, as an example with the right foot forward, you'll see the right hip wanting to kind of shift forward, the left hip kind of shifts back. You also, with the right hip forward, any tightness, you might see the right hip wanting to come up as the left hip drops down. By cueing the left leg, you might see the hips level off. you might just need to cue the right hip back down, square your hips off, or squeeze through your inner thighs. But bringing awareness, then asking them to find neutral. You will notice not a lot of people know where neutral is, especially if you're teaching somewhere without mirrors. So again, the goal, back to a few days ago, finding neutral alignment, and as the teacher, if you offer assist, if you'd like to offer assist, it's not a big movement, but it's helping them, again, just it's a 2-finger thing, right? You just want to lightly cue this hip down, press this hip forward. And then after, I usually only assist after I've cued them into something neutral to the people that I see not being neutral. And the best part is, if you ask them, they will think they are in line. I do this a lot with my private clients. They always think they're neutral alignment. They always think they're straight. And that's how I know that they're crooked. Basically, nobody that I have taught has been perfect, myself included. I don't stay neutral, and I am the one in class. I go to a studio normally with mirrors, and so normally if I am in my crescent lunge or in my chair pose, I have my hands on my body feeling it, and I have the mirror in front of me to offer me some feedback, but I have my hands on my hips the first time I come into crescent, so I can feel, so I can make sure I'm not dumping into my low back and I'm keeping my core in tight. I put my hands on myself and offer myself some self-assist so I can make sure that I am training my body the best way I know how, which is through the touch and through the movement. So just making sure that you are always constantly aiming for that neutral position so that you can better help and better get out of these normal compensation patterns that your body will naturally come into based off how you have and how you live your life. Multitude of things. Cool. So coming back into our crescent lunge, you may feel a lazy back leg. Again, that's more comparison. You want to see the hips in line. We were just talking about that, as well as left versus right shoulder flexion. So with the hips in a split stance position, again, we're in crescent lunge, right hip forward. With the arms up overhead, you may notice it in the shoulders one way or another that you're kind of leaning into or away from the lunge. Again, just noticing, do you feel, if you have your students look up to your hands, do you see your hands in line? And you might, again, see that your hands are in line, but you kind of look like this. So offering them maybe a light assist, but then also maybe you just cue the belly on. Maybe you cue the hips level, and then you'll see the whole upper body want to come back to center. And then the last one for our airplane, for comparison and tension. You want to feel either with the arms out in front of you, more like a warrior 3, versus arms at your side. We'll just offer a little bit different sensations, but nonetheless, do you feel equal activation? Do you feel one shoulder blade pressing up against your spine with the arms at your side as you squeeze and pull your shoulders down your back, and then the other one just feels like it can't really move too much? There's no right or wrong. It's there. They do need a little bit of more strength in one side, I'm sure. Everyone does. But bringing the awareness starts the healing. Once you can recognize that something's going on, now we can further address it. Now we can keep it in our minds that we do need some help and that we do have some compensation patterns going on. You want to feel the hips level. A lot of times in airplane, you'll see if I'm balancing on my right leg, the left hip is way cocked up to the side. In airplane, you should feel the standing leg gluteus medius. So this is on the outside hip of your standing leg. You should feel that fired up, because the function of the glute med, one of the functions of the glute med, is to hold your hips level. So in an airplane, when you're standing on one leg, you want to feel the hips level. What this feels like is feeling the outside. Again, if I'm on my right leg, it is feeling the outside of your right hip getting fired up. So you want to feel the hips level, and this is what you would be feeling. But again, it usually comes from a little bit of adding that hip internal rotation, or the simple cue of drop your left hip closer to the floor, drop your left hip. I've never seen anyone go too low. I'm not saying it can't be possible, but I've never seen anybody go too low because the balance just doesn't really stick with you very well. But yeah, cueing that. And then again, both activated with the same intensity. So if you're in a balancing posture, a lot of the times you will see people just wanting to keep that leg nice and straight. They're activating the standing leg and the other leg's just kind of doing its thing. Airplane is a great example because the leg's supposed to be straight. A lot of the back leg, the leg that's not weight bearing, is supposed to be straight. And a lot of the times you will see that the back leg is pretty lazy because everyone is only thinking about the balance. So now we bring our attention away from the balance, which makes the balance harder, which is good. People need that. But then we can ask for activation in the standing leg. And again, this teaches muscle memory, which is so important. Again, from the nervous level, we are training the nervous level, but we are also able to help them dive into the workings of their body and what is going on. Yeah, so does anybody, let me make sure I didn't miss anything here. If anybody has any questions, please let me know. I would love to just, again, clarify anything you guys need before we hop off of our last free 5-day yoga teacher training anatomy prerequisite course. I've had a blast teaching you guys. I have had so much awesome feedback, so thank you so much for tuning in and for listening. This has been so awesome, and I really feel like people are starting to ask really the right questions as to how to be better so that you can have a better influence, a bigger influence on your students. And when you have a bigger influence on your students, they're coming back to your classes. They're having more fun. They are healing. And if they think you are a part in their healing, number one, that feels great. I think that's why a lot of yoga teachers do what they do. A lot of yoga teachers I know went through teacher training because of their own woes and emotional traumas and past traumas, and no yoga teacher that I've met has become a yoga teacher for themselves. They've become a yoga teacher so they can share it with the world. Even the ones who don't want to teach usually end up teaching. I know all my little leaders in here probably know that and have witnessed that. But if you would like to learn more, if you would like to dive into more of this stuff, a ton more of this stuff, my online course, Functional Anatomy, is built exactly for you. It is taught just like this, but there is a PowerPoint right next to me taking you through slide by slide, with me going through it, with me actually stepping back and showing you exactly what I'm talking about. You will have direct access to me, whatever you need. We will have this private Facebook group up, Learn Yoga Anatomy, for you guys. I will be doing FaceTime lives based off the modules just for you guys. And I really do know that it is a course that can help yoga teachers better see the body, better help their students dive into their bodies, and keep students on their mats for longer. And the longer your students can be on their mat, the more money that's in your pocket, the more that word of mouth is going around talking about you. I am in Nashville, Tennessee, and we have a very saturated yoga world here. There is yoga for everyone, but there's so many yoga teachers, so you have to stand out. Where you are might be a little bit less, there's less competition, but you still have to stand out, you still have to care, you still have to take care of the people in front of you. And how I know how to best do that is through anatomy. How I know how to best teach that to you guys, especially for my power vinyasas and the flows that aren't exactly structured, as far as like a Hot 26, a Bikram, and Ashtanga class, where the teacher is in charge. This course is built specifically for you so you can make sure and remind yourself, is this safe? Does this even make sense? Am I doing this for me? Is this a class that I have built for myself? Or am I truly thinking about the people who are going to show up to my class? And is this built for them? The answer is it's built for you. You need to reassess. The flows need to be built for the people who will be attending, so they can get the best out of it, so they can dive into the workings, and that they can be better people physically, emotionally, spiritually, and it starts the healing journey. So if you'd like to know more, please send me a DM. I would love to talk to you and get you on a call and tell you everything that it has to offer, answer all of your questions. But as far as content goes, there's 4 different modules. It's over an hour for each module, so there's over 4 hours. I think it's closer to 6 or 7 hours of content. There is 4 different yoga flows built in there, one specific to back pain, one is over an hour of myofascial release flow, and it's with a tennis ball. So it's things that are practical that you can give to your students right away, and it's the way I teach is just like we've been teaching. It's things that you can apply directly in. I am not here to teach you the bones and the muscles. We do cover some of that, but if you're looking to learn more of that, let me know. We can cover that if in more of a one-on-one setting. If you're looking for a little bit more of an accountability partner in teaching you that, because I know anatomy is hard to learn. I have been there. I have failed the tests and I have thrived from there. In my 7th grade anatomy class, I got a C. My mom told me I couldn't play softball because I was failing. And it's just awesome to see that I have become an anatomy teacher. I call my mom out all the time on it. But I've been there. I know that it's hard, and I have been studying this literally since 7th grade, almost my whole life. I have had such a passion for how the body works. So I know that it's hard, and I have done everything in my power to make it practical, to make it applicable. The common injuries is obviously my jam, being an athletic trainer. I have 6 years of degrees in this, 2 degrees in this, but 6 years of learning in just the college setting, how to help people heal from athletic injuries, and that's what we get in yoga. But then also how to modify around pain, because just when you get injured, that doesn't mean you have to stop taking care of yourself. That doesn't mean you stop showing up to your mat. At a personal level, personal practice, as well as your students. When they get hurt, and everyone gets hurt, you walk out of a class, you roll your ankle. It didn't happen in your class, but now tomorrow they're showing up to your class with a rolled ankle. You need to be able to address that and talk to that. And the more that you know, especially from an anatomy standpoint, the better off you're going to be. So if you need accountability, there are still some spots left in the group coaching program. Again, there's 4 different modules for that. We will pick a time that works for everyone. If we need 2 groups, we will modify. I am easy peasy going with the flow, always, and pun intended. But if you're looking for more hand-holding or tough love, whatever you need, and you're looking to dive in, if you are a yoga teacher training leader and you need to get better at teaching the anatomy, the one-on-ones are exactly for you. I have taught over 25 different yoga teacher trainings, just the anatomy portion. I have seen things work and land on students. I have seen things fly more than way over, and I have been totally embarrassed for even bringing this up and thinking that it would be helpful, because it wasn't. So I have learned the ins and outs on how to teach anatomy to multitudes. Over 300 teachers in training I have taught anatomy to. Over 25 different trainings and 300 teachers. So I get it. I know that it's hard, especially as a lead trainer where anatomy is not your jam. And I know that teacher trainings are where a lot of studios make most of their money. The biggest thing that can make you stand out as a teacher training leader is your anatomy. I have had bad anatomy. I have been told people have had bad anatomy. I have actually been brought in as anatomy part 2 because part 1 that they paid for was so just did not hit the mark, to put it lightly. So I get it, and I know that it's the biggest moneymaker for a lot of yoga studios. So if you're looking for the accountability, if you're looking to develop a better yoga anatomy program, let me know. I will work with you. The one-on-one is a 12-week program. I will work with you. I will build it with you, and I will teach you why for everything. Again, for me, understanding from an educational standpoint, if I can understand why I'm doing certain things and why certain things are a certain way from an anatomical standpoint, I can better teach it. I can better handle those really weird questions that you know you're gonna get. So I will help you. I will hold your hand, again, offer you tough love. Whatever style of coaching you need, I will help you build that. I will help you build your private business for yoga teachers. I will teach you everything that I've learned. I have turned a soul to soul into a consistent 5-figure months. It's been awesome, and I do it straight through yoga, through privates, through workshops and trainings. And then obviously through some online courses and that kind of stuff. But yoga teacher trainings is where a lot of the bulk of my money comes from. Privates is much, much more. And I teach studio classes just to stay up on teaching classes. So that really doesn't even count as part of my income. But privates is my jam. So please let me know what you guys need. I am absolutely here for you. I have a lot of answers. I just need to know your questions. So let me know what you need. Again, thank you guys so much for being so awesome, participating. I look forward to doing this again with you guys. I look forward to working with everybody who signs up for the course, especially the group coaching and the one-on-ones. Of course, you will get all of my love and attention. And thank you guys so much. Namaste. Have a beautiful weekend and happy October, happy fall. Love you guys.